mic on? Episode 135. What's wrong with Orny Adams? Let me start with this. I have a handheld mirror I keep here in Big Yellow, my recording studio, my Shasta. And I was holding it, and I just dropped it, and then it bounced off the ground. And it didn't break. So now, does that mean I have 7 years of good luck? Because I could use 7 years of great luck instead of bad luck. You know what I mean? Like, there's bad luck and there's good luck. And I'd like the latter. Good luck. Now, I say latter with very little confidence. Because it's one of those things where you have to decide, is it the former or is it the latter? And I don't think anybody has a lot of confidence when it comes to this. You always have to think about it. Like, wait, it is the latter, right? I don't want to say the last thing you said was the former and sounds stupid. It's like gross sales and net sales. You never fully know. We're going to learn about the difference between two close words, ethanol and methanol, on this podcast. But how confident? Is anybody 100% confident when they say it's the latter? The only reason you can figure it out and be correct is we always say the former and the latter. So the former's first, and former sounds like first, and latter, that's last, and that sounds like last. So that certainly helps. But what if it wasn't? What if we reversed it? What if the latter wasn't the latter? What if the latter was the former? What if we said, the difference between the latter and the former, and it turned out that the former was first? Whoever came up with the expression got it right, but imagine if they didn't. Imagine if people were going, the difference between the latter and the former. We'd be screwed. And then what if the latter is a ladder? Right? What if you're like, I don't know, should I buy a step stool or a ladder? And I'm going to go with the latter. What if the latter wasn't the latter? What if the latter was the former? What if it was like, I don't know, should I buy a ladder or a step stool? And the person goes, I don't know, I think you should get a ladder. I think you should get the ladder. Well, do you mean the step stool, the ladder, L-A-T-T-E-R, or L-A-D-D-E-R? What do you mean? I'm so confused. What's wrong with Orny Adams, episode 135? I was going to make my head explode. Yeah, I don't know if I should get a ladder or a step stool. Well, if I were you, I would get the ladder. So I should get the step stool? No, get the ladder. But the step stool was the ladder. Okay. Let me put it this way. Should I get a ladder or step stool? It's just, I give up. You know what would really help me right now was if I had some turmeric. Then my circulation would be up. Here's something else a lot of people are eating these days: dates. Dates are flying off the shelf. People, instead of a candy bar, have dates. Your body processes the sugar better. Everybody's an expert on nutrition. Thanks to social media, we can all pretend we know what the F we're talking about. But we don't. Do we? I don't think so. I think it's the former. The latter. I think it's the gross sales. No, it's the net sales. I want to thank everybody that's sending me videos of otters. I want to particularly thank Daniel Wheatley for sending me this video of a crow attack. Let me walk you through this. This is scary. This is what happened to me. This is very similar, but a much more exaggerated case of the crow attack that happened to me at the rest stop. Now, here's a guy, I don't know what country he's in. It doesn't look like this is America, but there's a crow on the top of his car, which I would go, shoo, 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 shoo. Or, knowing what I know about crows now and their 17 years of memory, and that they hold memory's longer than that, but they hold grudges for 17 years, I just leave it. I'd let it just sit there on my car. And to be honest, who cares if there's a crow on your car? It's probably good luck. Put this mirror down. But let me walk you through this video. Looks like the guy has like a Honda, very similar to my car. Yeah, it's not like a nice car. This isn't a Ferrari. Let the crow sit there. Anyway, let me walk you through this video. Thank you, Daniel, for sending it to me. Okay. Guy is, looks like he's got some stuff on the roof. Probably food, right? So the crow knows that. The crow's going in for the food. Guy puts the food in the car. He's looking at the crow. Very skinny guy. He's walking around the car towards the crow, which is on the roof. The crow's backing up. This guy now grabs the crow. You hear that sound? That's 3 crows coming in to attack him. That's the sound you never want to hear. That's the sound I heard at the restaurant. That is a murder of crows coming for you. Now, this guy, I don't advise ever touching a species in the wild. I notice a lot of people are very like, they'll see an injured bird and they'll pick it up. Now, how do we know that bird doesn't have E. coli, doesn't have whooping cough, SARS, doesn't have what Jimmy the Fox Clemente got, rabies, herpes? What if there's toenail fungus on the crow? So I'm going to walk, I'll continue. This guy picks up the bird, and then the murder of crows swoops in. They start diving at his head. They're very loud. It's scary. The guy runs or leaves. Oh, here he is. Now he's grabbing the bird. 2 hands. I don't know what he thinks he's going to do with it. You hear the sound? They're telling all their friends, come on, murder, attack. He drops the crow. Now this is like a movie. He's like looking up like, what is going on? Now a crow just hit his head. 2 more hit his head. Who's ever doing the camera work should have gone widescreen. Would have been able to see more of this. This crow attack is still happening. He's looking up. I would have run in the car. They're up in the trees. They're swooping down. This guy, this family, this murder of crows will not ever forgive this guy. I've got to watch it one more time. It is... Okay, here he is, putting the food in the car that the crow wanted. That's what crows do. They want your food. I know. Happened to me at a rest stop. This guy goes around. Now, remember, at the rest stop, I hid in my car while the crows surrounded it. This guy decides he's going to move a crow. I don't know what he's thinking. Where's he going to put the crow? Hear that? That's, call it, that's like, you ever hear like when an officer gets shot and there's some code and all the officers zoom over to save the officer? That's what's happening here in this video. This guy, get in your car, dude. What are you doing? What country is this? I wish we could see these license plates. Okay, for 17 years, this guy will never be able to go to his car again. He will be attacked. Thank you, Daniel Wheatley, for sending me that. That is a great contribution to what's wrong with Orny Adams. I appreciate it. Now, it's, I would have gone out last night. I was feeling very social, but I thought I've got to record a podcast, so I'm not going to go out. So I realized that it feels like a lot of people aren't working right now, but then there are some people like me that are overworking since COVID. I know it's the C word, and we don't want to talk about it, and it drives us nuts, but there's been a major shift in people. I've noticed this. A lot of people aren't as social. So even within my neighborhood, we used to all hang out. We used to go out for happy hour. We used to have people at our house. We used to stop and talk to each other. We used to text, hey, how you doing? You hanging in there? Now, the neighborhood feeling is gone. It's right back to that book, Bowling Alone. Institutions are breaking down. Now the neighborhood. It's weird. We have a group chat, several in this neighborhood, and it's just a bunch of people just complaining. But where's the support? I remember when I moved in for Halloween, people would text me, hey, can my kids come over? And could you have gluten-free candy for them? Could you have organic, gluten-free, non-GMO candy for my kids? If you don't have it, I'll drop it off first. I've had neighbors drop off candy for me to give to their kids, which isn't a bad deal. It's cheaper than me having to buy it. I mean, would you rather buy candy or be given candy? I'd like the latter. The former I don't want. And by the way, at the beginning when I did that former ladder thing, I just thought of that as I was putting the cameras on and stuff like that. I'm sure somebody's brought that up before. Sure, it's not the I'm not the first person to have that thought. The ladder, ladder, latter. But I didn't go out because I wanted to record a podcast and I wanted to be at 100%. And I noticed that I don't really have free time anymore. I notice all my time is taken up. If I'm not doing shows or I'm not booking myself or doing contracts or writing stand-up comedy, I'm doing this podcast and then I have to edit the podcast, or I'm doing other people's podcasts. There just isn't time off. Or I'm on my phone and I'm responding to you guys. I love hearing from you guys. I'm going to read an email from Lewis, who's a truck driver, in a minute. But it's nonstop. It never ends. And I used to feel free. I'm actually going to take a vacation in January. I'm wondering if I can shut down. Because technology, which I was way behind, I loved it. When I was a kid, I had a VIC-20 computer. And I loved it. And then high school was, it was high school. And college I loved. Greatest time of my life, Emory University. I'm so lucky. And then I studied abroad, and then I traveled the world, East Europe and other places, and I felt a sense of adventure. I had no fear. I would just get on a plane. I'd get on a train. I'd get there, and I'd figure it out. But you can't do that anymore. Planning a trip several months out. Remember when my dad was planning a trip? Took him a year. Now I'm starting to understand it. Maybe it's an age thing. But for this trip, where I'm going, it's it's a lot. I don't want to say where I'm going to going just yet. But all the nice hotels are booked up. Everything's booked up already. You can't just land anymore and then figure it out. So I'll give you an example. When I was living in Italy in college, studying abroad at Quindice Ponte alla Rife in Firenze, we would just figure it out. So we were going to Munich, Germany. We got on a train. We got there, couldn't find a place to stay. It was all sold out, or it was too expensive. We couldn't afford it. So we just got on the train again to go to another country because we had a pass, which was unlimited, and we just slept on the train. We spent the night sleeping on a plane. We just put our feet up on the other seats, and the conductor kept coming through with a stick, with a nightstick, and kept hitting our feet off of the seats, kept hitting them off the seat. Or they'd wake us up. We'd go into another country and they'd wake us up for our passports. So we just took the train for 8 hours and then or 4 or 5 hours and then took it all the way back. Unfortunately, there was a strike that happened in the middle of this, us trying to sleep on a train thing, and ended up stranded in some country for hours. But we made it to Munich, and then we drank too much beer and had a great time. But there's no sense of adventure like that anymore. I don't know if you heard what happened in Laos, that country in Asia. By the way, the only landlocked country in Asia. 6 people have now died from methanol poisoning in alcohol. And it's not some sort of like they meant to kill these people. Methanol is sometimes added because it's cheaper than ethanol. Ethanol is what is in alcohol, and that's what we can drink. And one of them has 1 carbon, one of them has 2 carbons. Let me see where the notes are on this. Methanol, ethanol. Oh, it did 2-page printing. I didn't want that. Great. It's always something, isn't it? Methanol is sometimes added to mixed drinks by bars as a cheaper alternative to ethanol, but it can cause severe poisoning or death. It also is a byproduct of poorly distilled homebrew liquor. So it could have been what we in the prisoners, not me, but they call cooch. Could have been moonshine. Medical specialists say drinking as little as 0.25 milliliters of ethanol. Methanol can be fatal. Now, how are we supposed to remember the difference between methanol and ethanol? I guess meth, which is bad, methamphetamine, and methanol are bad. Anything that begins with ME, including men, bad. So they put it in because it's cheaper. Now, methanol is a toxic alcohol used in industrial household products like paint thinners, antifreeze, varnish, and photocopier fluid. Who's using photocopiers anymore? It's colorless and has the same smell as ethyl alcohol, the chemical substance found in alcoholic drinks. As much as half a shot of this stuff, 0.25 milliliters, can kill you. And it can take up to 24 hours to start kicking in. They start to feel signs, they're nauseous, they see double vision, they're blurry, they see snow in front of their eyes, and then it escalates to hyperventilation and breathing problems. And if not treated, there isn't an anti-methanol pill you can take, but if not, you're going to die. And some people just go blind. I read another story about this girl in Greece in 2016. She went to a bar, she had some methanol and went blind. Asia has the highest prevalence of methanol poisoning worldwide. These are facts, everybody. I'm just reading you facts. Methanol poisoning most commonly occurs following the drinking of windshield washer fluid. I read this fact. Don't do that, by the way. People do that to hurt themselves. Okay, here it is. Methanol is composed of only one carbon atom, while ethanol has two. So you want two. One is fatal. So you want the latter. The one carbon atom makes all the difference. It means methanol is processed differently in our bodies and is much more toxic than ethanol. Methanol is like alcohol in our drinks, colorless and odorless, but its impact on humans can be deadly. So I guess this area of Laos, I don't even know how to pronounce it. 600,000 tourists go there a year, or were there in 2023. It's a haven for backpackers. And so these kids, now I've done this. I've been there. And by the way, you should see this group of people that are dying. Very attractive. I would think this would be a bigger story. See, here's the thing. This is what I've figured out in the last couple of years. Ever since all we could talk about is politics. All the news covers is politics. 24 hours. There are really interesting stories. I'm going to talk about one today. In fact, I meant to talk about this up front, but I have so much to talk about up front that I forget. But I'm going to talk about this. Maybe I'm not. I am going to talk about 2 boating accidents. Now, one was an accident and one was not. Now, is that a cliffhanger? Is that how I hook you 18 minutes into my podcast? So what's going on is these kids, they're backpacking. They're very good looking. Now, why is this not a bigger story? Why? Because we're obsessed with politics. It's all we can talk about. Politics. We got to get over this politics. We got to talk about other stories or human interest stories. I'm going to talk about 2 boating accidents that happened in the same month this year that couldn't be further apart. To me, that's interesting. I'd like to start a news channel, the What's Wrong with Orny Adams news channel, where I talk about interesting things that show humans as more similar than dissimilar. All we do is point out every day, this person's not like me, this person's not like me. Like, it's crazy. So, I want to talk about things that we can learn from and not have to question. Everything you have to question, it sucks. So, anytime I see a story, I see, six backpackers, a couple from Australia, a couple with Danish and American, died, and they're good looking. I have to read multiple sources before I believe it. I don't just believe any singular headline. We are now, at this time in human history, the most informed group of people. And at the same time, the dumbest. Because a lot of us that think we're informed are actually misinformed by false information. Because people aren't fact-checking. They're taking news from TikTok, which scares the shit out of me, in social media. What I'm saying is always check your sources. They taught that to us at Emory University. Never, always. It better be a medical journal. It better be something that was published, that was reputable, like the New York Times. And I know people question that, but you're nuts. You're nuts. So these kids go backpacking in this place, Laos. It's one of the most popular towns for European backpackers. They like to go tubing on the Nam Song River because that's all Laos has, the rivers, because it's landlocked. So it's a place where kids go backpacking, they go drinking, they have a good time. And I think all these kids showed up at this hostel, this backpacking hostel, and they were given a free shot. And in that shot, there was methanol, which killed them. And it's scary. It's scary. So, and I don't know how you could ever protect yourself against this. This is just bad luck. You ever think about, like, how many times you've come close to dying like this? How many times I was close to getting a shot of methanol? Like, I don't know how you protect yourself. You're a young kid, you're backpacking, you're over there, you see everybody else taking a shot, you think it's safe, you assume safe, but it isn't. And you've got to be guarded. And it sucks because these young people at the beginning of their lives, I forgot how good-looking backpackers are. I got to get back to backpacking. Why don't we have backpacking for good-looking adults like me? I feel like I'm in the good-looking, for my age category. Am I not? So that was scary. And it just got me thinking about how I used to do that. How I took a boat from Brindisi, Italy, and I went in Grecia to Greece. And then we were on this island, I think it was Corfu, and it was just a party, nothing but a party island. And we were doing shots of ouzo or whatever. I could have been killed. I could have been killed. It's amazing that life, the difference between life can be one atom. The difference between methanol and ethanol is one atom. Methanol is composed of only one carbon atom. Ethanol has two. It's like that one atom. It's like that one atom made all the difference. It's like Adam and Eve, that one atom. It's crazy. I'd like to read a letter from my buddy, my new friend, Lewis. Lewis wrote me and he said, hi, Orny, ! Just a few words to say thank you for talking some sense to all of us. That's right. Lewis, wait till you watch my news channel, the What's Wrong channel, when it's really going to be what's right. Everyone goes, oh, what's wrong with Orny Adams? All you do is complain. I'm complaining about commonalities. I'm complaining about shit that you should be complaining about. And if you say, wow, I feel the same way, like Lewis does, that brings us closer together. So I have brought the world together through negativity. How y'all feel about that? Lewis continues, from drywall installers to guys like me who work the graveyard shift, driving a truck, I don't want to say who he drives for, that often isolate ourselves due to our work hours, it is nice to hear your point of view. He lives in California area, to be exact. It's nice to have one normal guy who calls it like it is, and it's nice to relate. That's what I'm here for, Lewis. I don't take sides. I don't think what you believe in, your religion, your politics, anything, what books you read, what movies you watch. I don't care. I care that you need oxygen to breathe. You need 2 atoms. Am I right? 2 atoms. You need food. You need love, sex. We're all the same. Cut the crap, everybody. I wrote back, hey, Lewis. Hey, thanks, Lewis. Glad I can be with you during those third shifts. And it's important Now, did he call it the third shift, or did I know it's the third shift? Maybe it's the first shift. I was a security guard at a mental hospital. I used to work the third shift. That was the overnight shift. Oh, he calls it the graveyard shift. Well, I call it the third shift. Do you see what I'm saying? Lewis and I, maybe we shouldn't get along. Maybe we should hate each other. How about that? Maybe Lewis should hate me because I call it the third shift and he calls it the graveyard shift. Do you see how absurd it is? Do you know how absurd the world is? Arguing about what do we call this or that? Are they homeless? Are they unhoused? What are they? Who cares? They're the same thing. Is it soccer? Is it football? Well, the Americans call it soccer, but the rest of the world calls it football. Well, guess what? The game is the same. Doesn't matter what you call it. I said to Lewis, I'm glad I could be there with you during those third shifts, and it's important I get feedback like this, so thank you for reaching out. And then he wrote back, you're very welcome, Orny, exclamation, despite of how many devices we own or how many virtual platforms we belong to, I crave human social structure that used to exist before the Facebook crap was introduced. Thank you for bringing reality into perspective and a fresh, often forgotten, thank you for bringing reality into perspective and a fresh, often forgotten to comedy and entertainment. People like you, very few exist, ... Stay funny, ... I love your perspective in life. Kind regards, Lewis. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you're listening. And I hope you don't mind that I read this. But if anybody writes me letters, the email is what'swrong@ornyadams.com. And just know that you may end up on the air. You may become famous. Much like Lewis. Also, let me give you some tour dates. ornyadams.com/tour if you want to come see me, because the tour continues. Next week, Irvine Improv, December 13th through 15th. Tickets are selling fast. I'm telling you, you got to see what I'm up to these days. ornyadams.com/tour. January 18th, the Ice House. That's in Pasadena, California. ornyadams.com/tour. February 13th, Comedy Magic Club, the day before Valentine's Day. Come out and celebrate when people that don't want to deal with the nonsense of a holiday, don't want price fix bullshit, are going out. Be with the real people. Lewis might even be there. Lewis, if he's not working the third shift, or what he likes to call the graveyard shift, he'll be there. Chicago Improv, I'll be back in the basement of the mall January 30th and February 1st. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. McCurdy's Comedy Club. These tickets are going already. March 21, 22. That's 2025. So come see me. And get off your devices. Lewis was talking about it. I'm going to tell you about this documentary that I can't wait to see. I haven't seen it yet, but I just read about it in, where are the notes? I guess it's on, it's going to be like streams on Hulu and Disney, which I don't subscribe to, but I really want to see it. I wish I knew its name, but I don't. But let me tell you, as I find that, I had a wonderful lunch with a colleague. The guy who owns the Laugh Factory here in Los Angeles, California, Jamie. He's taken quite an interest in my career, which means a lot to me. If anybody takes an interest in my career, including Lewis. And he really wanted to help me like crack and figure out what's the difference? What's going to get Orny Adams to that place? And we went out for a nice lunch, and neither of us looked at our phones. And we just talked. And he has such an interesting story. You know, he emigrated from Iran, and he came here, and, you know, he was young, and he had the guts. It takes a lot of guts in this life sometimes. He had the guts to open a comedy club. I wouldn't have the guts. I still don't have the guts. There are risk takers, and then there are people like me that take risks, but within parameters. But here's what I thought was fascinating. He went to investors he found a spot on Sunset, which is where the Laugh Factory is. And he found this spot, and he saw it was for rent. So he went to an investor, and he said, I want to open a comedy club. The Comedy Store was open at that time. Maybe even the Improv was there. And he said, I want to open a comedy club. And the investor said, well, what's the plan? And he said, I want to open it. I want to serve eggs. And I want to call it Jokes and Yolks. And the investor said, okay, you're going to leave and you're going to come back with another name because that name sucks. But so he went back, and there's a long history with this space. I can't remember which famous, maybe it was Groucho Marx. His office was there. And so he thought, this place is a factory for jokes. I'll call it the Laugh Factory. And so that's a little bit of history. And I was there a couple of weeks ago. I was doing a show. I've been doing a lot of shows there because Jamie is being very supportive. I appreciate that. And there was a guy in the audience, and I was, you know, if you've seen me, I like to point out the buffoonery in front of me. And there's always a nice mixture of buffoonery, young buffoonery, old buffoonery. And I'm packing it up. I'm about to bring it home. And I want to talk about something with the older people do. And I see a guy in the audience, and I said, like this guy over here. And he yells out, I'm not that old. I said, oh, you're old. Guy looked like he was in his 70s. He said, no, I'm 54. I said, no, you're not 54. You're like 75. He said, no. I said, come on. The audience is going, he's older. Everyone's turning around looking at the guy. He's older. He said, I had cancer. I think it was cancer. I survived, and it destroyed him. It physically destroyed this poor guy. And after the show, the security, the bouncer, came up to me and he said, hey, the guy the guy that's 54 that you think is 75 wants to meet you. I said, all right, he's a little old for Make-A-Wish, but okay. So bring him upstairs. So he brings the guy upstairs. And if you've been to an Orny Adams show, you know there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of people that want to talk to me. So there's a little bit of a line. I see the guy. I call him over. I said, what's going on? He goes, I really am 54. I go, I believe you. I'm looking at his face. I'm like, he looks like that the character in that Brad Pitt movie where the guy ages. Whatever that word is, that begins with a P. I said, I believe you. And I said, what did you learn from surviving cancer? And he said the most beautiful thing. He said, so beautiful I had to write it down. He said, every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. And I could see it on his face. There was a sense of peace. Something I don't see in many people's faces. And it got me thinking, why do we have to face death to have this realization? Why don't I think every day is a gift? Why do I think every day is a to-do list? I don't want to go through what he went through to have that realization. But why? Now, anybody who hasn't been through something and says every day is a gift, you think they're a little go. But life is precious. And I want to thank that guy for reminding me of that. Here's some more hypocrisy in the world. I keep reading about this fast fashion. You know, people buy jackets like this. They get them cheap, and then they wear them one or two times. Not all Orny. In fact, I'm purposely wearing clothes longer. I haven't bought new clothes really in a couple of years now. Some t-shirts, maybe one pair of pants or something. But I used to really buy because what happened, what you don't know is there was a time when clothing was expensive. And then something came along called fast fashion, where they said, okay, you used to buy this jacket. It would be $150. And this would be your jacket. You'd wear this jacket for 2 seasons. 3 seasons. Now they're like, okay, $17.99. You're going to buy every color, which is what I did. I have this in maroon, black. I had this other color that was great. So cheap, they ripped. And I bought this at Nordstrom's, by the way, not a cheap place. You know, so this fast fashion, the amount of chemicals it takes to make this, and plastic, and where does it end up? Ends up where it started, in a landfill in India. So they make it in India, send it over here, we wear it 2 times, we send it back. And we're worried about the plastic straws. All these people in videos telling us what we're doing wrong. Oh, you got to stop using plastic straws. They're sitting there in a new outfit every other day. They do these unboxing videos. It's such hypocrisy and bullshit. I can just picture Lewis right now in his truck going, "You're right, Orny. You're right. Don't sit there with your new outfits every week, destroying the environment. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you tell me that outfit that I'm going to see you in one time, tell me where it ends up? Because God forbid you be realistic and you wear something twice in a video. Because you're living some imaginary world online, which is bullshit. This isn't real. And what happens is younger, impressionable kids see this and say, I want that life. Well, that life isn't real. You can live it, sure, a little bit. But do you think for the rest of your life you're going to be some traveling guru in a new outfit every week, full of righteousness and virtues, but yet you're a contradiction? You're nothing but a contradiction. It's so short-lived. You must find a career with substance. Stop messing around. You make these videos and you make young people think, I want that life. Do you know that this documentary, where is it? There's Laos. There's, maybe I didn't put it in the notes. Oh, here it is. It's called Social Studies. Lauren Greenfield's new 5-part FX docuseries about teens and their relationship to social media. I'm sure if I watch this, it would depress me. Sometimes I do this when I'm at friends' homes and they have young kids. I sit there and I look over. I go, I'm going to watch how a kid navigates on the phone because they're going like this the whole time. I want to know how they're going from screen to screen, what they're looking at, what piques their interest, because we know it isn't old Orny Adams. We know it isn't a clip of what's wrong with Orny Adams. We know it isn't his stand-up, so what is it? So she believes that kids are basically the same, but social media has changed them. And I don't know, because the world moves way too fast. Here's an actual quote from the documentarian, Lauren. I want to watch this documentary. One of my sisters has Hulu. Maybe I'll check it out. I'll watch with her. I think kids are still the same, but everything is amplified, she told me. She's talking to the reporter here. I read this. Where did I read this? It's just the New York Times I just read this in. Take the eating disorder thing. When she made the movie Thin, another documentary, 1 in 7 girls had an eating disorder. When I started this project, one girl told me half of my friends have eating disorders from TikTok and the other half are lying. That's what's going on. Kids are seeing what isn't real and they want that, this body image. I mean, everybody is spending all day concerned about eating dates and eating cumin. What is it? Anyway, everybody, I look around the gym and I see just perfect bodies. And I'm thinking, what kind of life do they really lead? Get out of the gym and live your life. I only go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Obviously, look at me. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not in the gym a lot. But every time I go to the gym, the same people are there. So they must always be there. So what kind of life is that? And I go to the gym in the morning, the afternoon, I go to the weekends. I have no set time, but I see the same people. So what kind of life is that? It's no life. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got Leonardo DiCaprio and his dad bod and a different chick every month. He's on yachts. This guy's living the life. Walking around with his shirt off. He doesn't give a shit that he's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's not thinking, I gotta be perfect. I think that. I don't even nobody even knows who the hell I am. So she continues. The stakes are higher now. All the mistakes you make are public and they last. She's talking about like this shaming, like slut shaming. Thank God my childhood is not documented. I think that all the time. Everything is faster. and innocence is lost earlier. And in a way, kids are more vulnerable because they have fewer opportunities to learn how to deal with things in the real world. Isn't that the truth? I mean, I think about when I was younger, and we didn't know anything about sex. We didn't know. We just tried. And if something worked, we did it again. If it didn't work, we never did it again. I mean, are kids even dry humping anymore? Is dry humping dead? Has the internet killed dry humping? Have they moved beyond that? Because they know there's more underneath the pants and they can take it off and do other things? We didn't see porno when I was a kid. Bring back innocence and dry humping and get rid of social media. Yeah. Here's the other thing. More copper theft. Hacienda Heights. Copper thieves knock out power to local high school, landline, and phone service. So this is still, I thought it stopped. I thought it had stopped. I was all excited. Turns out it didn't stop. You know, this podcast would be moving a lot faster if it didn't do two-sided printing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about, now I can't, my head's all over the place, but I think when it comes to young people, what happened to them during COVID and then now with social media, this is no way to relate to people. And I don't know if it's ever going to change. I think innocence is gone. I really, I do. I think it makes me sad. I hate how much time I spend on the phone. I think people are actually married to their phones. They're little digital pacifiers. And it scares me. And I think about like when I was in Europe and I would travel, I was in college, you couldn't even afford to make phone calls. You'd have to walk down the street. You'd have to buy a phone card. It was about 75 cents a minute. So you'd talk for 10 minutes once a week to your parents. You'd schedule the time, you'd cram it in. We also did something called letter writing, which I think is important to express yourself in different ways. You know, like it's great to read a book. It's also great to watch a documentary. It's great to speak like this in a podcast. It's also great to write things down because things come out differently. It's always great to get a perspective. I'll give you another example. Go through a neighborhood, walk through the neighborhood, drive through the neighborhood, take a bike through the neighborhood. You will see completely different things when you do all three of those things differently. The former, the middle, and the latter. There you go. Bringing it all back home right there. Right there. But something happened. I've been talking to a lot of people about this during COVID that has changed us, has shifted our psyches. I see people that don't want to leave the home. I see people that don't want to be social. They don't want to interact. They don't want to give a chance. Dating has changed. People are soft sober. Is that the expression? Soberish. Nobody's drinking like they used to drink. In fact, when I drink, I used to love it. I used to get a buzz right away. I used to feel good and fuzzy. I don't feel that anymore. I still feel hungover. Now, why during COVID didn't that happen? Why didn't it happen that you could get drunk, but the hangover went away? But now, the buzz is gone. That's what I should call this podcast episode. The buzz is gone. It's either that or dry humping is dead. Should I do dry humping is dead or the buzz is gone? I think dry humping is dead. What happened to dry humping? I think that'll get more clicks. Like if I'm trying to, really be salacious and get this thing going, I got to play the game. But the buzz is gone. I don't get a buzz. I've spoken to other people. They're like, yeah, I'm just not drinking anymore. And people are like sort of sober and they're like going to parties or going out to eat and they're ordering water. Kind of loser goes out for Italian food and orders water. Or they'll say things like me. Like last night, I'm like, I could have had a drink, but I thought, I don't want to have a drink because I'm going to do a podcast. And then I've got shows the next night. I've got 3 shows the next night. And then tonight, I'm like, I got a drink, but then I got to travel tomorrow. So I don't want to do. So you keep putting it off, and you end up not living your life. I want to go back to when I used to live my life, but I don't want to go to Laos and drink methanol. So what's in between? Now, is this all age? Am I fooling myself? Does this have nothing to do with COVID? Does this really just have to do with age? Have I gotten to the point where fun is done? Maybe that's what I should name the podcast. The fun is done. Okay, so now it's the buzz is gone. Dry humping is dead. Oh, dry humping is dead is good. I think that's the best one. Fun is done. That's lame. The fun is done. Dry humping is dead. I think that's funny. But, you know, I want to live a free mental life again. But you can't. It's like every time I think I'm done, every time I sit down and I go, I'm going to enjoy some TV, all of a sudden, like, a lock doesn't work. Today, a lock didn't work. My garage door going up and down, it'll hit the bottom and then it goes back up. I've adjusted it. I've done everything. I've oiled it. I've called them. It goes up. It goes down. It doesn't happen for 3 months. Then it starts happening again. I'm thinking of calling a repair guy, but he'll come out here and it'll work perfectly. And he'll go, oh, this guy's just crazy. This guy's just nuts. Have you ever, switching topics, and before I do, let me say 3 things. First of all, thank you to you, the listeners, and the viewers. Thank you to the people that support me on patreon.com/Orny and pay to see the video early. Thank you to the people on YouTube. Thank you for the people taking the time to write reviews and share this. If you share this, it's the only way it's going to happen for somebody like me. I thank you. If you want to correspond, you want to write an email like Lewis, it's what'swrong@ornyadams.com. And if you want to see me do a show stand-up, it is ornyadams.com/tour. And I've got a few dates for Vegas coming up too in the 2025. Now, this August, I wanted to talk about one of these stories a while ago, but it never fit in. And then today, I realized in August, there were 2 boat accidents in the same month. And one was real and the other was staged. Now, if you've been watching the news lately, and you can get through the politics, I don't know if there's any place you can watch where you just get, maybe local news gives you more stories. But there's a kayaker that faked his death. But in the same month, a boat went down off the coast of Sicily and 7 people died, including a billionaire. Now, why that's not a huge story? Imagine you make $1 billion and then you die in a yacht. You drown in a yacht. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, maybe even Lewis, you know what? Screw that guy. I drive a truck every night. The 3rd shift, or what I like to call the graveyard shift. That's what Lewis would call the graveyard shift. I call it the 3rd shift. Maybe there's some resentment. But imagine that. You must think you're invincible when you have that kind of money. The first one happened August 12th. August 12th, off the coast of Wisconsin, a guy faked his death, flipping over his kayak, throwing his IDs all over the place, and swam to shore, got on an e-bike, went to took a bus into Canada or something, and then got on a plane and went to Europe, Eastern Europe, I believe. The other one happened August 19th. The Bayesian, Bayesian boat sank in a storm. Let me talk about that one first, because I think there's something interesting about faking your own death. And I'm sure it's a fantasy many have played out in their minds. I haven't. I want people to know where I am. So I read this. This was in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was fascinating. I brought it up to people. A lot of people knew about the event. I hadn't because I'm trying to avoid the news. The mystery of this boat that went down off of the coast of Sicily has rippled around the globe as several investigations into the tragedy unfold. It has vexed maritime experts and compounded the grief of family and friends of the 7 people who perished, including Mr. Lynch and his teenage daughter, Hannah, whose bodies were found trapped below deck. Now, Mr. Lynch has been called the Bill Gates of England. He's a British dude, developed some software, I think, and then he sold it to HP, Hewlett-Packard, and then Hewlett-Packard sued him and won. Then he flew out here earlier in 2024. He was investigated. He was up for criminal charges involved in this sale to HP. Like he, knew what he was doing. He was consciously nefarious, and he was acquitted. And so to celebrate, he brought his lawyer and friends and family out on the Bayesian, I hope I'm saying that right, boat off of the coast of Sicily to celebrate. And there was a storm, like a once in 100-year storm type situation, and it went down. Now, why did it go down? People are curious. The investigation turned on three central questions. Why did the Bayesian, which now lies 160 feet at the bottom of the Mediterranean, sink so fast? Did the yacht have any design flaws? Or did the captain or crew make a fatal mistake? So obviously, the makers of the ship, it's a Perini design, Perini designed ship. They're blaming the captain, and the captain is blaming the ship maker. And there's a sister ship to this Perini. And the sister ship has 2 well, I'm going to get into that. Hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself here because I already know the story. The Bayesian was a one-of-a-kind sailboat built in Perini Navy, a famous Italian yacht maker. The company says the group of 10 super yachts that the Bayesian belonged to was the most successful series of large sailing yachts ever conceived. But the Bayesian was different. Its original buyer, a Dutch businessman, not the Lynches, that's the guy who died, the billionaire that died, insisted on a single striking mast that would be taller than just about any other mast in the world. Okay, so a lot of people blame this design, the single mast, because the sister ships had 2 masts. But this guy, this Dutch guy, the original buyer, said, I want people to look out and see the largest mast. This is the most phallic. This is a look at my dick situation that cost the second buyer his life. He probably didn't know that there shouldn't be a single mast. The most obvious departure from the previous Perini ships was the mast itself. Beyond being exceptionally tall, more than 40 feet higher than the original foremost, it was also heavy, at least weighing in of 24 tons of aluminum, possibly more. This alone would have challenged the boat's stability because so much weight was high above the deck. Bum, bum, bum. Now, to counter that, you need something called a ballast. A ballast is material that's usually in the hull of the boat. This could be, what could a ballast? It could be like steel. Naval engineers pointed out that the heavier a yacht is up high, the more ballast it needs way down low. Weight at the bottom of the boat to lower its center of gravity and resist its tendency to lean over. Such risks are calculated and laid out in a lengthy proprietary document, kind of a safety Bible, for many vessels certified to ply the seas. Ply, P-L-Y. So all this stuff is tested. It has to go through rigorous tests, has to be passed inspections. But then again, look at Boeing. They're just doing whatever the hell they want. Maybe the thing got paid off. But now copies of this 88-page book, this Bible on safety, they're sweeping through the community, and experts are obsessively trying to solve the problem because this ship witnesses, actually this video went down really fast. It just sunk within seconds. And it's now 160 feet below surface. And on the first day after it went down, because this storm passed rather quick, Divers found the body of the yacht's chef floating near the boat. Over the next 3 days, they found the bodies of Mr. Lynch and 4 other passengers in a small cabin near the front of the narrow staircase leading down from the deck to the passengers' quarters. Finally, divers discovered the body of the last missing person, Hannah Lynch, trapped behind furniture in a nearby cabin. One Italian official said the 6 passengers might have been trying to climb the main guest staircase when a surge of water poured down the stairs and knocked them back into the cabins. What a way to die. Holy cow. While the boat flipped on the side, water gushing in the total darkness, it would have been nearly impossible for anyone below deck to escape, experts said. Now the captain escaped, and people gave the captain shit for not sticking with the boat. You know that the old captain goes down with a ship? Bullshit. Not in this situation. That thing was sinking fast. Get on the life raft. That's what it should say. Captain gets on the life raft. I mean, I know it's romantic to say. It's very Titanic. Captain goes down with the ship. But, captain should save his life. While Mr. Cutfield left the lifeboat with other survivors, that's the captain, when a half a dozen passengers were still missing is a matter of Italian prosecutors are looking into. So now the guy might be prosecuted. But several yacht captains have defended Mr. Cutfield, saying that whatever happened that night, it happened very quickly. When a boat sinks fast, says Adam Hauch, H-A-U-C-H, whoever this is, an American yacht captain, Captain Hauch, reporting for duty. There's not much hope for anyone still on board. The adage of the captain going down with the ship, he said, is antiquated and unrealistic. It's what I just said. I'm not even a captain. My name's not even Hauch. And I said the same thing. But why are people not fascinated? A billionaire's gone. Imagine that. I don't even have that much money and I'm worried about dying. I'm like, I don't want to die with money. I want to spend it all. A billionaire. It's like, when famous people go down in crashes, when Kobe died in a helicopter crash, you think famous people can't. They've got the best equipment, the best pilots. They know not to fly. There's no way. But it happens. Mr. Lynch is dead because he bought a boat from a guy who wanted to have the biggest mast ever. Now, is this guy going to be prosecuted? Is Perini, the boatyard people, they going to be prosecuted? The other thing is, nobody needs a boat this big. Nobody. Floating through the oceans. Floating by fast fashion, just floating by you and straws and shit. Now, in the same month, earlier, a guy in Wisconsin faked his own death. And for 54 days, they were searching for this piece of crap guy. Imagine this. He's got a wife and kids, and he faked his own death. Couldn't just leave. The only thing he did that was halfway decent was he took out an insurance policy on himself so they would have some money. In early October, after almost 2 months of dead ends, the sheriff said his team widened its efforts, assuming that something odd had occurred. So for 2 months, they searched for this body, this guy, trying to find it. There were people that donated their time. They used their equipment. There's some company, I don't know if I wrote down the name. Yeah. Officials said they're seeking restitution for about $40,000 that was spent on the search for Mr. Bergwert's body in the Green Lake. They're looking for this guy. The family's in panic. Because this guy didn't have the balls to just leave his wife and family and say, I'm not happy. This week, he released a proof of life video because they widened the search. They said, something isn't right here. Something isn't right. We haven't found the body. Where is this guy? So they widened efforts, assuming that something was off and odd. They found that authorities in Canada ran Mr. Bergwert's passport the day he was reported missing. Okay, so that's a sign. Then investigators learned that Mr. Bergwert had reported his passport lost or stolen and was issued a new one in May. So this guy set this up. This was long in the planning. Get the insurance. But his family found his original passport in the house, according to a news release. So they found the original, but he had a new one that he left the country with. Mr. Brr told investigators that after he ditched his kayak. So now he's telling them what went wrong, how he did it. Told investigators that after he ditched his kayak in the lake and he threw his phone into the water, he got on an e-bike and went to Madison, Wisconsin, boarded a bus for Detroit, and then an airport to Canada. Then he left the country. He expressed remorse for the ordeal that he put his family through, and for the first time, for the time and money spent searching for his body. This guy is just an asshole. The search involved divers, boats, and sonar scanners, and a nonprofit organization dedicated to finding victims of drowning. This guy should be put away. They should go over to whatever country he is. I should send Jim Clemente to get this guy. An investigation found Bergwertz had a second passport, replaced a hard drive on his laptop, cleared browsers on the day of his disappearance, and had inquiries into moving funds to foreign banks. He also purchased gift cards and took out $375,000 in a life insurance policy. The sheriff's office also revealed he has been communicating with a woman, well, there you go, in Uzbekistan, wherever that is, in Central Asia. Unbelievable. I have to say this. With digital technology, with your phones, with computers, you're not going to get away with anything anymore. With DNA, we're arresting people that committed crimes 30, 40 years ago that just thought they were going to live their life because they weren't convicted when it happened. And now with digital, let me tell you something. There's no secrets. Don't try and commit infidelity. Don't try and cheat. Don't try and do anything. They're going to catch you. Just like those kids in the last episode I talked about that surrounded the pervert in the park. They did their own sting, and then they videotaped this pervert that met up with, had sent nude pictures to a young girl. By the way, has not been arrested for the crime. I don't know how that's possible. I guess he got arrested, they got released, now they're not going to prosecute. You're not going to get away with shit. This guy, you think you're so clever? You're going to erase your hard drive? You're going to get, you don't think when you leave the country, there's no record of that? You don't think we're going to figure that out? As you're over there in Uzbekistan for some woman? Wait till she hears this story. Hope she dumps your ass. Must be some woman that you need to fake your own death. That you need to leave your family, your 3 kids. Imagine how messed up those kids are going to be. They're messed up from this. They're messed up from being on social media. They're going to be messed up. And I feel bad for those kids. There's some selfish people in this world. And I put that guy up there with that. Selfish behavior. But I'm telling you, what's wrong with the world is you're not going to get away with it. They're going to figure it out. And if it's an interesting story, wait till the internet sleuths kick in. Oh, they'll figure this shit out. They'll figure out the clues. 40-something days they searched for this guy. Used resources. Because this guy didn't have the balls to just leave his family. Say he met some woman in Uzbekistan. I hope she's worse. I hope she's worse than the wife he left. Just gets under my skin. Really does. Now, have you thought about faking your own death? Is that something that interests you? There's nothing I want to leave so badly that I would fake my own death. Now, I could see myself leaving the country. I could see finding another place to live that is more remote and I'm not so connected and I'm not tied into the bitching. A lot of bitching goes on. A lot of bitching in America. We got it so good. Go to other countries. Fiji. When I was in Fiji, I saw a bunch of kids running around with a stick. They played a game with a stick all day on the beach. For hours I watched them. Fascinating. They had no devices. None. We have it so good here. We really do. We have it so good, and yet we just complain. Well, I complain, so what am I talking about? But I make money doing it. It's a living. And I do it for your benefit. I'm doing it for your benefit. Yeah, I bring the world together through complaints. That's what I've come to learn on this podcast. I've also learned that dry humping is dead. But maybe it isn't dead. I'm going to do a documentary on that. Where's Werner Herzog to do a documentary on dry humping? I'd like that. Anyway, I hope that you listen to this podcast and you share this podcast, and I hope that you come see one of my shows because I really feel that's where I excel. I want to thank everyone for the feedback. People continuously tell me, do the podcast alone. Go solo. We like it. Well, I like it too. I also like a guest. I like to hear other people. I like to bounce off of people. I like to hear their stories because I'm interested. I'm interested because I'll be honest with you. 5 hours ago, I didn't know the difference between methanol and ethanol. I didn't know one had one carbon and two had two carbons. Now I do. I still don't know which one, if it's the former or latter. I still don't know if it is the former or latter. I don't use that with any confidence. I don't even know if it's the latter in the former. I don't even know if it's gross sales. I don't know if it's net sales. I don't know much, but I sat down and I learned it, and that's what I love to do. So I don't know what got me off on this little rant, but I appreciate it. What's Wrong with Orny Adams, episode 135, I hope I said it right at the beginning, is done. Thank you to audio for mastering the audio. I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. Anyway, I'll be back next week with a new episode. And then I start summing up the new year. You think I've been negative on this episode? Wait till I sum up what's going on. You know, I like talking over music because it feels like a friend. I got a friend right now. I've got a couple of shows tonight. I'm going to go for a nice little walk. I'm going to air my head out and get it all out there. But what I'm saying is, overall in life, I feel so lucky. Now, do I think every day is a gift? No. I think most days are a gift that you want to return. That's what I think. All right, we'll see you for the next episode, everybody. And you know what I'm going to try and do in 2025? Bring back dry humping. Thank you.